This is a podcast or something like that.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the 51st episode of the Verbal Journal podcast. You know, we used to have this tradition where I'd say the episode number and then I'd be like, oh, I'm not sure if it's the right episode number, because I would be saying it from memory. I have to be honest, now that I record in Ableton, my digital audio software, rather than not Discord, rather than Streamlabs, which is the streaming platform software that you can also use to record with. Now that I record in Ableton, I usually have already saved the file and given it a name. So these days, the tradition is kind of broken because I'm always going to have saved and named the file before I start recording because, come on, best practices, you're not going to start recording before you've saved the file. And I could give them arbitrary names to still make it so I have to guess the number, but what I'm trying to say is I'm just trying to come forward and let you know that tradition might be over. It might be the end of that tradition as long as I record in Ableton, which could be a while because I like it better. Then it's just, it makes more sense to do this in Ableton. So, and I did have to resolve a little tech issue before we got started. My audio drivers have been weird and different last week or two on my computer, and it hasn't been a problem except when I want to do things with, my audio on my computer. But I was just like, oh, okay, well, what the fuck do I do? And I don't know. I just went into my audio drivers, clicked a button or two, and figured it out. So, no big deal. But the big news for the opening of this episode is that it is a night episode. That's right. You're listening to me. I'm in the dark. I have a little, not the pitch black dark. I have a light on, but just a little one. I just have a damp little lamp. And there's no sun coming from outdoors. There's just a little lamp. So welcome to the night episode. And guess what? Instead of drinking coffee, I am drinking beer. I have a little beer I'm drinking, a little bit of beer. So you might notice me getting inebriated over the course of this episode. You might notice me becoming more inebriated in my demeanor. Okay, so with all that being said, let's start the episode. What is that, the 3-minute introduction? Wow, that's a pretty long introduction. Well, I have a lot of stuff to talk about today. So I hope you are strapped in and stand back and get ready. Strap yourself in and stand back. Because we are about to venture into the Verbal Journal podcast. I hope you had a great week since last week. The reason I'm doing it at night is I was chilling during the day. I was hanging out with some friends and I had some stuff going on. So I figured, okay, I'll record the pod at night. And I had a good weekend. I hung out with friends a couple times. I played some chess. This morning with my friend. That was quite good. I lost, but it was a great game. It was a long one. It was over an hour. And we took our time and we played lots of moves. I went a pawn up, but got me into a worse position, and I ended up losing the pawn and giving up another pawn. Had to fight back to have equal material. By the time I did that, they had a much better position, and their 2 pawns were much better than my 2 pawns. So it goes, but I had a good week. And life's going. The YouTube channel is doing well. The Breaking Bad video, I mentioned last week, there was a recent spike and it was getting a lot of views. Instead of a couple thousand a day, it was getting twice as many or something. So that went on for a week or so. That was super cool. But in general, that video hit 4 million views, which is a huge milestone. Now it says 4M under that video, the Breaking Bad video. So I like the 4 and I like the M. I like the way they look together. They make me happy. I like seeing them. I like just looking at them. Speaking of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, this news article came out from Entertainment Weekly. Bob Odenkirk found out that he's related to King Charles. And this is not a joke, even though it sounds like something I would say as a joke. So let's watch the clip.
That is wild.
Bob, how does this make you feel?
Like I'm part of history that I didn't think I was any part of.
Right.
But I'm an American. I'm not a monarchist. I don't believe in that. I feel like it's a little twisted. I understand why society built itself around monarchs and leaders, and they passed them down through generations. I understand that goes through every society, every civilization. But I think that we've gone to a better place with democracy, and we should keep going down that road.
Really?
I do.
Well, guess what?
Uh-oh, what's wrong?
You
What
and
happened?
you and King Charles III are 11th cousins.
Well, maybe I'll change my mind on that.
Through the Duke, you and King Charles III are 11th cousins. Now, there you'd be trashing your family, how they make a living. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You ain't been royal more than 5 minutes. And you complaining.
It's so funny, man. Oh, that is crazy. I never even thought about that. Of course that's true, right?
Yeah, because all they did was
these families are related.
all they did was marry each other.
11th cousins.
11th cousins.
Wow. So good for him. He played that off really well, and I'm happy for him. So Bob Odenkirk is royalty, apparently. Some people just have it all. I don't know what else I plan to say about that. Another channel-related thing, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad related thing. I've said this before. I'm sure I've said this before. But people commenting that Walter knew about meth and the formula for meth, because I pointed that out. I'm like, it seems like he had studied up on it, because when he's going on the ride along with Hank, and Hank's saying the chemistry stuff about the meth, Walter corrects him and then sort of says, I think, after he corrects him. I get so many comments saying, oh, he's just saying I think because he's trying to not, antagonize Hank. He's trying to not be big dog Hank. He's trying to be deferential to Hank. And okay, sure. I'm not gonna say that's untrue. Of course that's true, but I'm commenting at that point on the bigger picture, the fact that he asked to go on the ride along right after seeing the news program Hank was in about the drug dealer making hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just don't get it. Walter obviously saw, he saw the news. He was like, oh, drug dealers can make a lot of money. And then he's like, well, I've just been diagnosed with cancer and I need a lot of money for treatment. So, and I just don't care what happens anymore. So I might as well give it a shot. So when he says, I think to Hank, sure, he's trying to be deferential because he doesn't want to give away that this is all premeditated. The ride along is not a random thing, y'all, right? We understand that. He's not just oh, maybe I'll go on a ride along. He does that because of the money that he realizes dealers make. So when he then makes it clear he knows, and then people are like, well, a lot of chemistry, meth is not complicated. Anyone who knows chemistry would know meth. I know, that's not, I'm not saying it is complicated. But even if it's uncomplicated, he's going out of his way to obfuscate the fact that he knows things about it. And he's not just doing that to be deferential to Hank. He's doing that and being deferential to Hank for the larger purpose of obfuscating how premeditated this ride along really is and what it really means to him. He fucking knows Jesse. You know what I mean? It ends up being the whole thing, everything, the ride along. So anyways, I just feel like people really misunderstand my point. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my point. I feel like people misunderstand it. Hundreds of commenters just saying, oh, he's just trying to be deferential to Hank. It's I know he is, but that's not the point. That's not the point. So Okay. One other thing that was just interesting from my life that I remembered that I thought was related to Better Call Saul in a sense is I was just thinking back to when I was in a master's program and, I just had this memory of like a professor or like / administrator, like someone who was pretty wise and like knew their stuff, making the point that most ethical violations that people have in like a helping profession like mine, come from situations where the practitioner is actually trying to do something good and has good intentions rather than bad intentions. This person just made the point, like, most of the time people violate ethics, they were actually trying to do something good. And that's, I think, very often true. Obviously, there are people with bad intentions, but it just speaks to Better Call Saul, and I guess Breaking Bad, but especially Better Call Saul. Because, like, Better Call Saul has more situations where I think the negative outcomes were a little bit harder to predict for the people involved. That's my vague generalization. But so, they could have they could be in denial and have cognitive dissonance and have, good intentions, but just not be thinking about the likely outcomes of their, behaviors. So anyways, okay. So yeah, I've been reading, about art. One interesting thing I realized, cause I've been reading about these surrealists. I talk about the surrealists on this podcast, the surrealists. They all love this guy, Marquis de Sade. I don't know how you say it. Marquis de Sade. A French writer from like the 1700s. Marquis de Sade. How do you say that? How do you say that? Sade. I think it's Sade. De Sade. Yeah, it must be. Looking at a phonetic alphabet right now. Say, fe, tra. Oh, wait, hold on. Bra. Oh, wait, no, it's it's a. So I think it's sad. Marquis de Sade? Is it Marquis de Sade? Should we do another pronunciation thing? Sometimes we do that on the pod. Live pronunciation. Oh, this one won't play through the speakers in the same way, so I'll have to sort of just learn from it. You won't hear it hold on. Pronunciation. Let's go.
Bonjour, looking at how to pronounce writer. Famous in France, we would say it as Marquis. Silent S here.
Marquis.
De Sade.
Marquis de Sade. Wow, I had multiple things wrong. Marquis de Sade. Anyways, he's a writer. And that's where the word sadism comes from his name. I haven't read his writings, but apparently he explored sexual, subjects and psychological subjects. So the surrealists really liked him. And he was just apparently an interesting guy. Marquis de Sade. So I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to share that the word sadism comes from his name. I don't think I'm wrong about that. It said that in one of the art biographies I was just reading, which, by the way, I just finished the one I was reading, or I stopped early because I gave up on it. But I read a lot of it, more than half. This biography on Balthus, who's this like just complete monster of a person who is dead now, but was just like painted I was gonna say the weirdest pictures. They weren't weird. They were just they were sort of disgusting and disturbing. And so I thought it was a good biography, and I talked about it last week, but it took a turn. It kind of just lost its vigor. So the whole thing was like, the only way you can read a biography about a terrible person with a broken moral compass is if the moral compass of the writer of the biography is very strong enough to counterbalance the broken moral compass of the subject of the biography. That's just absolutely necessary. So it was like that at first, and I was talking about that last week. I was like, oh, okay, it's good. The author asks all the right questions, is very critical, talks about how the artist seems to delight in sort of portraying women in extremely vulnerable positions, and especially even literally portraying children in like abusive positions. And it's just like, you sort of look at this guy's art and you go, okay, the person painting this has an extremely sick and twisted mind in a way beyond like the normal feeling you might get looking at like a painting by like Picasso or, Soutine or Lucian Freud or like, any like El Greco or like any like, most artists make kind of fucked up shit, but like Balthus is a disgusting pervert, and that's very evident in his paintings. And so it was a really interesting biography because the biographer met with the artist who was like very old and had assumed this fake title, called himself a count and wasn't a count, like literally had assumed a fake aristocratic title, pretended he wasn't Jewish, even though he was, and lived with a wife who's like 45 and he was like 84, and he had that, that's not like his crime, by the way. I've already described a lot of the bets, but like, yeah, that, a problematic age gap is not the point here, but it is a factor. But yeah, so anyways, Balthus, sort of a disgusting guy, but there were just so many problems with the biography after a while. But anyways, I'll say a few points and then we're done talking about this artist. What's interesting is like he was associated with the Surrealists. They showed at the same shows. They were like, they knew each other. He knew the Surrealists, but they had profound differences. Like he, at least at a certain point in his career, either pretended or decided that he hated psychoanalysis, and like even in this biography, like him and his wife like judged the author for saying he had gone to therapy before, and like they hate therapy and psychoanalysis because they're you can imagine why, because they don't want to introspect, but I don't think he actually did hate psychoanalysis at the time necessarily. I think that was something he sort of adopted to just change his tune a little bit, but he definitely wasn't like big into it, and a lot of people weren't. You didn't have to. I mean, a lot of people were surrealists for different reasons, but that was a huge part of being a surrealist. I was talking in previous episodes of the podcast about Dali meeting with Freud. I mentioned Lucian Freud a few minutes ago, by the way. That's a relative of Sigmund Freud. That was unrelated to me now mentioning psychoanalysis and Sigmund Freud, but Lucian Freud just makes kind of disturbing art, disturbing looking art. Not that disturbing. Actually, why was Lucian Freud? It's not it's kind of, whatever. All art is kind of disturbing looking. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, also Balthus, political differences. He was like a monarchist, like aristocrat, like, surrealists were mostly like, a lot of them were at least pretty radical to some degree. Not radical enough, don't get me wrong, but like vaguely radical. And some of them were, had good ideas about politics. But yeah, the author of this biography it was really wild how he just started to lose his luster with the ability to criticize Balthus. Like, he would still criticize him, but then he'd like confuse himself. He would make it very clear that he was considering the artist to be a predator, and then he would subsequently defend him and say how stupid it was when people looked at his paintings and assumed he was a predator. And like, it wasn't in the exact same words, so he got away with it, but he was just totally contradicting himself. He was downplaying something while feeding into it. And Also, just unrelated, the biography was way too focused on explaining the paintings. Like, just explaining, oh, like, let me spend 2 pages just explaining a painting, like, how it looks. And, like, sure, there's some interesting points in there, and I would read it, and I'd be like, whoa, I didn't notice that was in the painting. But I'm sorry, is that what a biography is? I mean, some biographies have way more of that, some have way less, and I don't know. That's just like, just get the rights to the image, you know. They print the images like I see the image right there. Like, you don't have to spend so long describing it. Like, I'm reading a biography out because that's a different thing, you know, describing the paintings. That doesn't have to be a big part of a biography. The artist that book is about, Balthus, literally had a romantic sexual relationship with his fucking niece. His brother's daughter, his brother's stepdaughter. And the author of this biography points it out as an obvious issue, but then downplays it and says, oh, it was his brother's stepdaughter, so it was just a stepdaughter. Like, the author clarifies, instead of niece, the author clarifies step-niece, as if that makes a difference. Like, the author goes out of his way to make it seem like it makes a difference that Balthus had a relationship, as much as you can do. I don't know. This person might have even been a minor. I don't even know if it was a real relationship that could even be said to be existing, or maybe that, like, but this was his brother's daughter. And, like, if you're going to clarify that to stepdaughter, what are you even trying to say? Like, that's when I really finally decided I'm putting down the book. When the author did that, trying to downplay it to a step. First of all, what does that even mean? Like, do we know that she called Balthus's brother her stepdad? What if she called him her dad? What if he called her his daughter? Now we're going to look at, like, are you fucking kidding me? What? The author, it was just such a dereliction of duty. I mean, wow. So I gave up. But anyways, the one central thing I will conclude with that the book pointed out, and that sort of came to light through reading this biography, and that was interesting. So this artist, Balthus, okay, this is the last thing I'm saying. So he has these paintings that you can look them up if you want. Some of them are not, some of them you would look at and be like, oh, what was he talking about? This is normal. But then other ones you will see, there's something that, how do I say it? So content warning. Let me give you a content warning, okay? I'm going to talk about subjects for a minute or two related to, like, the exploitation of children, and specifically sexual exploitation of children. And it's very disturbing. But I think it's worth talking about because that's the whole point with this artist. That's the whole problem. So fast forward 2 minutes if you don't want to hear it. So this artist painted paintings that could be considered child pornography. And that's actually, it's not really, I wouldn't even say that's debatable. The question is, okay, I guess it is debatable. It is debatable. Because you could say, what does it mean? Like, because there have been artists who have photographed, like, their children, you know, nude or something. Is that child pornography? No. But the question is, if you're producing something that could be used as child pornography, how much does it matter what your intention for it is? And then, since it's a painting, I feel like we treat it differently than photographs, but why is that exactly? And this guy lived 100 years ago, so, like, photography was barely taking off when he started painting. It was taking off at the same time. So, like, it's just a different world. So, but here's the point. This artist tried to pretend that these paintings that were obvious depictions of minors in sexualized situations, like the artist tried to say that they were just not that, and they were just interesting plays with light and figure and motion and movement and blah blah blah. And that to me is the ultimate. I mean, it's shocking and it's absurd if you look at the paintings, and the biographer did a good job of pointing out how absurd it is to have the artist over and over saying like, oh, my work is just about like how figures look, and it's just a coincidence that they're, some people are reading too much into them. But that, if you think about it, that argument is actually what ruins everything for the artist, because the only possible justification you can have for making disturbing material like that is, hey, child abuse does exist, and why should art not be able to show something that exists? I think that's not necessarily a winning argument, but I think that's an argument. But by saying that he didn't want his work to be interpreted in any sort of psychological way, and he said that many, many, many times, he actually makes it so now he's just blatantly denying something that everyone can see with their two eyes. It's just mass gaslighting, just like by pretending he's a count. So anyways, glad I read part of that book and glad I gave it up, because holy freaking schnicken. I took it back to the library as soon as I gave up reading it. I was like, I want this out of my apartment. Okay, next up, there's protesters flung some soup at the Mona Lisa in Paris. They were protesting. It's a French environmental group. Riposte Alimentaire means food counterattack, and they hurled pumpkin soup at the Mona Lisa at the Louvre in Paris. Man, I want to go to the Louvre to get some free food. I feel like this happens all the time. But the painting hangs behind bulletproof protective glass and was undamaged by the attack. But is it soup-proof? They said it's bulletproof. They didn't say soup-proof. A lot of people say all this stuff about these protests. People are like, oh, that's bad. People shouldn't do that and stuff. And I don't mean right-wing people. Left-wing people will say, oh, I support, protesting for climate change, but I don't support this type of thing. It just makes climate protesters look bad. Like, I get that. I mean, I don't think it's the most effective thing. It's a little bit adventurous, I would say. But I also think people should probably just not criticize it rather than criticize it. I think ignoring it is enough if you think it's bad. And I think going out of your way to say how bad it is just kind of making content a little bit. But okay, next up is another art news article. This one says the estate of Stuart Sutcliffe, artist and original Beatles member, is selling its entire collection. So apparently there was a fucking fifth Beatle. Original member of the Beatles, Stuart Sutcliffe. McCartney, Starr, Harrison. What's the name of the one who dated Yoko Ono? Lennon and Sutcliffe. So he was an abstract artist? Oh, it's not that great. I was like, that painting's not that great, and then the painting's called Confidence. Okay. Well, what are you going to do? Oh, okay, this one's kind of good. It's a little bit better. Yeah, he was definitely an abstract artist. Wow. I wonder why he didn't work out in the Beatles. What happened? He, inspired by the beatnik Kircher, Sutcliffe opted to rededicate himself to art. He left the Beatles in Liverpool, moved in with the Kircher family, and began attending classes at the Hamburg College of Art under the tutelage of sculptor Edoardo Palozzi. Oh my God. Oh my God. He died at age 21. Damn. Of a brain hemorrhage. Wow, that is so tragic. We're so lucky to just be alive. It's so crazy. Wow. Wow. Talk about unlucky. He literally didn't just decide to leave the Beatles before they took off. He then died. Wow. How terrible. I'm so sorry to learn about that, but his art is kind of good, actually. This later one is quite good. I don't think it has a name. Yeah, it's like 20 years before Basquiat. Oh, he is talented. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. What is this? Reuters judge voids Elon Musk's unfathomable, that's a quote, unfathomable $56 billion Tesla pay package. A Delaware judge tossed out Elon Musk's record-breaking $56 billion Tesla pay package on Tuesday, calling the compensation granted by the Tesla company an unfathomable sum that was unfair to shareholders. Won't someone think about the shareholders? So, Tesla's stock not doing good? Oh no. Let's see. Wow, yeah, Tesla's stock is not doing great. Okay, well, here's to yeah, I feel like 56 billion is a bit too much. Like, I feel like 40 billion is like the most that I can see being like a reasonable pay package. That's just me. I was switching over to sports. First, we're going to talk about basketball, and then we have a lot to talk about with chess. It's been really fun. A lot of chess news. I was just looking at basketball stats, and I thought it was interesting looking at teams like the Knicks and the Lakers in New York and LA. They both have not. The Knicks are doing really, really well this year. The Lakers are not doing that great. But they both have really, really good home records. The Knicks are 18-5, which is insanely good at home. Their record's 32-17, which is great, but that, still, you know what I mean? That still means they're 14-12 on the road, and they're 18-5 at home. So that's just like very good. Lakers 25-25 on the season, but they're 17-8 at home. And so that means that they're 8-17. Oh yeah, of course, you just flip it around. They're 17-8 at home, so they're 8-17 on the road. So it just is interesting because these places, LA and New York, obviously have very significant climates, significant sports climates. People get pumped, they get hyped. They yell, "Let's go!" They get very pumped, and that's just interesting that it really shows. Basketball is a very home court advantage-y sport, so I just wanted to report on that. That's from the data. That's sponsored by Amazon Web Services. That segment of the podcast. So chess has been pretty wild lately. Here's what's going on. Basically, the St. Louis Chess Club, which is the biggest chess club in the United States, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not going to look that up, but I'm sure. Like, they're the one that sponsors, all the biggest chess events. I believe the U.S. Chess Championship is almost always in St. Louis, and Rex Sinkefeld is this billionaire who owns it and stuff, and it's just the biggest money club in the United States. That's where the Sinkefeld Cup was, where Magnus lost to Hans Niemann and then accused him of cheating, and so it's just a big one. Anyways, they also, one more thing about St. Louis Chess Club before we get to the point. They're alleged to be a somewhat corrupt organization, or they're alleged to have serious dysfunctionalities is probably a better way to put it. They had this guy, Alessandro, remain as an employee working with vulnerable minors after he had serious substantiated allegations of sexual assault and misconduct against him. So this organization, the St. Louis Chess Club, does not have a good reputation for how they handled that situation with Alessandro prior to it becoming publicized. So maybe that has to do with why they publicized this here. I don't quite know why they did honestly publicize this, but they said they published this statement about saying that after consideration of recent events, the St. Louis Chess Club has made the difficult decision not to extend an invitation to GM Hans Niemann to participate in any invitational tournaments organized by the club in 2024. They go on to say, this decision was based on GM Hans Niemann's demonstrated inappropriate behavior, including damaging private property, rude comments, and an uncooperative attitude, resulting in a failure to fulfill contractual obligations. This decision was not made lightly, and we hope this serves as an opportunity for GM Hans Niemann to experience personal reflection and growth. We will reevaluate this determination for events in future years, assuming notable progress is achieved. So, yeah, it's just kind of interesting. I don't know why they publicized it. I feel like they should have explained that in the statement. But they obviously have the right to not invite Hans Niemann. I mean, if you don't follow chess, like, this is just a chess club. Even though they sponsor the biggest events, they're not under any obligation to invite Hans Niemann. I mean, if they were like the international chess organizations, putting together the world championship, they would be obligated to invite Ding Liren, who's the world champion, unless some crazy shit went down. You know what I mean? Like, but this is not the same thing. They're never, no matter how big the tournament is, like the U.S. Chess Championship even, they don't have to invite Hans Niemann. He's not even the top rated. He's like the 8th rated, like, U.S. player. Like, he's not the top rated U.S. player. So if he was the top rated, it would be a different story. But even then, destroying property by not fulfilling contractual obligations, they just mean he didn't do like interviews. He was like, you're supposed to do an interview even after your games and stuff. And so, but yeah, he has a really bad reputation. And then, and then the truth came out that basically he had destroyed a hotel room. But then he responded by saying, to summarize, Hans said, for the entirety of 2023, St. Louis Chess Club ignored calls, emails, and didn't invite me to numerous tournaments that I would usually be invited to based on my rating. This shows that before any incident with the hotel, they had made up their mind about blacklisting me, and this is only their newest excuse. They still have provided zero reason for their action in 2023. But, like, they do not have to give a reason for not inviting him to events. Or even, like, ignoring calls and emails. Like, that's, I mean, God damn it, Hans. Like, that is, like, they do not have to give a reason, man. The top comment on this. So, Hans Niemann, before the cheating stuff, was famous for saying, I'll let the chess speak for itself. Like, he walked out of an interview by saying, I'll let the chess speak for itself. Instead of giving an interview. And like, people thought it was kind of cool until we realized like that was like just the tip of the iceberg. Like, it was like, if that's the extent of the iceberg, it's fine. But that was just that was not even the dust on the tip of the iceberg. The top comment on this Reddit post about the situation is, I can see why he wanted to let the chess speak for itself now that I'm familiar with how he speaks. And this is just it's sad because, like, I'm not trying to beat up on Hans. Like, it's just like, this is a remarkable situation where he's making himself out to be the victim and worsening his own situation. It's just fascinating for someone to be their own worst enemy to this extent. He did confirm that he wrecked a hotel room that he was staying in during a tournament after a loss to like Ray Robson. He wrecked the hotel room. He says, it's funny to see employees of chess.com push this, because he's saying people are pushing the false narrative that he wrecked the hotel room more than he actually did. He says, no mirrors, tiles, or marble tables were damaged. I was told by the manager of guest relations at the Chase Park Plaza that there was a 99% chance that I would be allowed back and that official confirmation would be sent via email the next day. Surprising, 3 days later, my request was denied and they haven't replied to me since. I did break TV remotes, a lamp, an ironing board. Additionally, the glass... it sort of seems like... I'm just going to jump in here. When he writes the sentence like that, I did break TV remotes, a lamp, an ironing board, period. It's not grammatically correct, and it sort of seems like he had other things in the sentence that he then took out. Because, like, you know, the sentence should say, it shouldn't just end there, like a lamp and an ironing board. If an ironing board is the last thing in the sentence, it should say and an ironing board, but it just says an ironing board. So it seems like he had one more thing, but then he decided to take it out and forgot to fix the sentence. He goes on to say, additionally, the glass frame of a painting was shattered, which according the passive voice. Additionally, the glass frame of a painting was shattered, which according to the hotel pierced the couch and caused damage. So a painting was shattered in its glass frame just miraculously while the other things were breaking. And then the glass shattered and pierced the couch. So we're now talking about the couch being damaged just from the glass of the shattered painting. This is Hans tweeting this. As I've apologized many times to the club and hotel. So when you are staying in a hotel for a chess tournament, especially a huge fucking tournament, but I've stayed in hotels for chess tournaments, like you're getting a slightly cheaper room because the chess tournament has negotiated a deal with the hotel. They have ongoing relationships. If you trash a hotel room while the hotel room is, they know you're part of the chess tournament. That's how they see you as part of the chess tournament when you're staying in the hotel. That's an integral part of how they see you. They're not like, oh, who's in the chess tournament? Like, you are a chess tournament guest. It's like on your fucking like file. You know what I mean? So when you damage a hotel room, they absolutely are going to consider that a reflection of the chess tournament. Yeah, of course. Welcome to the world of adults. Like, so he says, I thought I could put this behind me, but let's not forget that I received 0 invitations from the St. Louis Chess Club before this incident. They're trying to make this about my supposed, quote, pattern of behavior, and he uses the European spelling of behavior, which I love, when this is just their attempt at covering how they... Wait. That's not the European spelling of behavior. That's the normal spelling of behavior. No, that is the European, to have a U in there. Yeah. Yeah, that's the European. Okay. When this is just their attempt at covering how they have not invited me to a single tournament in all of 2023 and won't... He had sued some of the major people in the chess world. I'm sorry, dude. You did that to yourself. You're not going to get invited to tournaments. So anyways, he just admitted to trashing his hotel room. You know, and then he just followed it up and stuff, and he was posting and just saying all these things. And he has this YouTube now where he's posting like daily uploads of his journey to being the world champion. He's saying he's obsessed with that. You know, he's posting more on Twitter. He's saying these posts where he refers to himself multiple times as the quote, one of America's brightest talents. He calls himself that twice. It's so obvious that people call it out and get like hundreds of likes, literally. So, and on his YouTube, like I looked at the day 4 video from yesterday. He clicked heart on so many comments. He's like interacting with his audience so much. It's almost weird to me when someone like hearts every single comment. Hold on. Let me say that again. That is weird to me when someone does that. That's not what Hans is doing. I misspoke. What Hans is doing is weird in a different way. He's going through tons of comments, a lot of which are criticizing him, and he's finding he's finding his favorite ones of the supportive ones, and he's hearting them. And it's just like, it feels very strange to me to just like go through and reward people for giving you positive validation. I do heart comments too. He does it a lot. He did it a lot. And I was like, that just feels weird. Reading the comments, I was sort of analyzing the Hans fans, the Hans fans, you know, I was sort of analyzing them. There's sort of two main groups. There are people who identify with Hans, and they're like, they see themselves as Hans, and the system is against them, and they are an anti-hero, and they have to fight against it. And then there are people who take on an almost parenting dynamic with Hans. And you can see a sort of transference where they're like treating him like their child. So a good example of the first type of comment where people identify it, someone says, oh, wait, no, sorry. Yeah. Good example of actually, before we do that, a good example of a comment he hearted. Someone said, Fisher went through similar situations his whole life. Keep your head up and keep fighting. You are a warrior and a genius. And Hans hearted that. So you're not supposed to click heart on it. When someone calls you a genius, you don't click heart. Because that's saying that you also think you're a genius. I would never heart a comment if someone called me a genius. I hope I have never done that. Good example of the first type of comment where people identify with him. Someone said, quote, I feel some sort of personal connection with you. I hear the things you say in your pursuit to be great, and I see the injustices against you. I have felt similarly in my pursuit to attend medical school. I made mistakes. I faced setbacks. Wonder if they cheated. You are young and intelligent, and I believe all of this will make you a stronger individual. So people, can see Hans that way. And then someone else says, don't let them stop you. Persistence. A simple mindfulness meditation practice has helped tremendously with my chest while under pressure or dealing with loss, even if it's just weekly. I would highly recommend adding to training regimen. Regardless, keep up the great work. It's really, really interesting, y'all. It's really fucking interesting. I'm serious. Like, or someone else says, this is only more fuel to the fire. Break their souls by climbing the ranks and becoming world champ. And then when they beg you to come to their events, refuse and humiliate them. Their time is coming. They chose this, and they will be on the wrong side of history when it's all said and done. Someone else said, free my homie Hans, which he hearted. Good example of the type of parenting comment. Someone says, come on, Hans, stop playing the victim card. Even if what you are saying is true, a department manager is not the ultimate authority, and ultimately the hotel general manager or owner himself could have decided to simply not want anything to do with you due to your behavior. Besides, the fact that 99% isn't 100%, and I'm sure he said that because he knows he doesn't have the last word. By the way, my favorite Twitter comment was someone saying, I've always left hotels with a 100% chance that I could come back. Like, that's a fucking, like, you're a child if you don't get that. Like, if a hotel manager says there's a 99% chance that you can come back after you've trashed your hotel room, I'm serious. That means there is a 50% chance you can come back. That is a 99% 99% chance in that context means there's a chance you can't and there's a chance you can. I would translate that to 50% chance. If you've trashed your hotel room and they say there's a chance you can come back, be happy there's a chance, but there's a good chance you can't. So anyways, this comment continues. As for the no invitations last year, you know very well your cheating scandal plus absurd lawsuit against all the chess community was the reason. Like, this person has all the same criticisms I do, but they love Hans. You know what I mean? They go on, like, for real, what organization would want anything to do with an individual carrying so much drama? Gotta own up to your choices, my man. You're not a kid anymore. Actions carry consequences. And then someone else goes on. This is probably my favorite comment. Someone says, terrible showing at Tata. Tata Steel Chess was a recent event. Hans Niemann came like in the middle of the pack in the challenger section, not the master section. This comment says, terrible showing at Tata. You need to be more consistent. If you don't control your emotions, you will never be anything than what you are now, a middling GM. And I love your chess, so take this advice well. That is so brutal. Like, chess community, y'all. Like, it's so funny that I don't like stream chess. Like, why don't I want to be part of the chess streaming community? Hans is interesting because like his fans are it's this like cross section. Hans Niemann has been a live streamer a lot. He's done a lot of chess live streaming in his years. He's only 20 and he's done a lot of it. And some of his cheating or purported cheating was while he was live streaming. You can see literally a video of him getting an account banned while he's live streaming. And his reaction is to say, okay, I'll just go to a different website. You can look that up. I'm just going to continue analyzing a few more comments and then we're going to get the fuck out of here and end this 51st episode. Am I fucking right? Uh-oh. I had half the beer. Okay, this person says, all young persons do, quote, bad stuff and regrets. That is part of being young. They are afraid of your strength and try to prove that accusations on you were true because you have made mistakes like all young men do. But you are the chess version of Taylor Swift. I'm not joking. That's what this person says. They say, but you are the chess version of Taylor Swift. And someday they will need you so much that they will regret everything they did to you. Then there's a few people pointing out that Hans apparently farted. By the way, I didn't watch the video. I watched tiny bits of it. I didn't watch it. Apparently he farted like around 14 minutes in. A few people comment on that. Today's video, which is day 5 of his journey to be the world champion, is very fine. I mean, it's the same thing. It's bad. I don't know what to say. It's very weird. He's just sort of living in his own world a little bit. And if Hans was listening to this, what I would want to say to him, and if I knew him, I'd be like, and I know people who have met him actually, but if I knew him, I'd be like, look, man, like you just got to kind of come at this stuff differently. I mean, stop. I mean, if you want to do the counting the days to be the world champ, that's fine, but that's not, I really think that's too much pressure and not going to help your game. I think making a vlog every day is not the thing that people do when they're succeeding at their profession, frankly. But like, you know, whatever, it's good content. People like it, but you know, you have to be self-critical. You have to be able to look at how you, like, it's black and white in this situation. If you trash a hotel room, it's black and white. And he's already messed up in his response to this, but like, you know, it's just you just got to take the L. You just have to take the L and learn to grow. Just like when he got called out for his cheating, he should have just admitted to the cheating he had done and left it at that. You know, he had done cheating in his life, and he should have just admitted to that rather than trying to defend himself from when he hadn't cheated. It's like, just admit to the cheating you did. You know, there's like I saw like a Nazi comment or two on the newest video because Hans compares himself to Bobby Fischer a lot. So a lot of people love that because they like Bobby Fischer because he's one of the world's greatest chess players of all time. But, you know, I saw just like a Nazi comment as well. And because Bobby Fischer not only was Jewish, but was also apparently anti-Semitic. So, you know, if someone's anti-Semitic, they'll have something to say about Bobby Fischer in some way or another. I also noticed a few comments, people advertising their own services to Hans Niemann directly in his comment section, like marketing or management, which I thought was really bizarre. I really don't think I've ever fucking had anyone do that. Thousands of comments. I've never had that. Several people telling him to follow Jesus, which I also genuinely have never had. And I fucking don't follow Jesus. So, you know what I mean? There are a few people saying they got into chess through him or are more into him than they are chess. And then on today's video, someone said, I don't like your villain attitude and I don't know what to make of the cheating scandal, but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I just love that comment because they're just naming two very significant things they have a problem with. So first it's, I don't like your villain attitude. Your villain attitude. And then second, it's I don't know what to make of the cheating scandal. And then third, it's but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, even despite your villain attitude. People just want to love someone. They just want to love someone. That's the point. Hans, they can root for him. They have a long time to root for him. His journey to the world championship is going to be very, very long. So they get to really invest, you know. It's just a horrible idea psychologically to frame your work in such a publicly, specifically directed way as a daily vlog to become a world chess champion. But hey, stranger things have happened. And then, someone else commented quoting him. Apparently in his video today, Hans Niemann said that he was proud to be an American chess player. And then he said an American-born chess player. And this commenter was like, shots fired. And other people were like, whoa, shots fired. That's fucking racist. Like, that's fucking racist. To literally even care about that shit is so fucking racist, dude. Like, to care about the fact that you're American born and you're calling out what? Who's not American born? Wesley So, Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana was born in Italy, right? Like, I think, like, that's just so fucking racist to care about that shit. There's also been this fucking thing going on where a Twitter chess personality, Ruhi Chess, was accused of, like, posted about how they were banned from chess.com and then maintained for weeks that they were wrongly accused of cheating and then finally admitted to cheating. Listen to their post where they finally admitted to cheating, okay? This is someone who for weeks on Twitter has been saying that they were not cheating when everyone else was saying it seems like they were cheating based on their games and based on their rapid rise in their rating from like 300 to 2,000 in like months. So after weeks of saying that they were not cheating, they post in bold and in bold, the day of judgment. Next paragraph, not in bold. Yesterday, I came across a video on YouTube where someone was defending me from what they called a witch hunt, calling to give me the benefit of the doubt. I did not wish anybody to defend me or believe in my innocence, so I decided to finally admit I cheated at chess. She didn't want anyone to believe in her innocence, but she was saying she was innocent for weeks. She says, I understand how serious cheating at chess is, and I know there is no excuse for it. I apologize to anyone who was damaged in some way by my endeavor. I want to make it clear that I did not do this for any self-serving purpose. I never intended. So anyway, she just goes on and on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, and people are just like, you're a disgrace. I'm not going to do my screen time report this week because no one cares, but let's check the mailbag before we leave. And you can write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. Please do write in. Oh, I wrote in myself. Yeah, this is just 2 funny comments I got that I wanted to remember to talk about. Someone commented on my Breaking Bad video, wait, is this just a guy talking about this for 2 hours and 43 minutes? That was it. It was just 1 comment. I don't know why I said 2 comments. So thank you so much for listening. This was a great episode, and I had a good time. It was a night episode. I'll see you next week, and we'll keep chatting. Okay. Have a good life. Goodbye.
This is a podcast or something